Hey Switchheads, how's it going? Hope you're all well. Welcome back, my name's Kanan and this is my review for Danger Scavengers. But will this top-down looter-shooter roguelike game make it onto the Wall of Fame? Or maybe the Wall of Shame? Or maybe even somewhere in the middle. And don't forget, as usual, hit that link below, become a member of the Switchheads Discord and join in all the streaming fun, or just come for a chat. And as usual, if you've enjoyed any of the content that you're finding here, you know what to do. Gameplay. Okay, so as I mentioned before, it's a looter shooter roguelike, as in you can lose a lot of things after you die, and you will die a lot, but you also get things that carry on into the rest of the game. It's also multiplayer, which is pretty cool, and you can go into a nice little section and actually just start the multiplayer that way, which is couch. And from this hub that you can see here, you can actually pick whichever character you want, all varying in different abilities and health and all. Like you've got the big tank-like character that has more health and also does like a smashing attack as his special ability. Right over to the other side of the spectrum, where you get kind of like a scientist geeky type guy that can levitate using like Iron Man type thrusters to move himself around as his special ability, but he's not as strong and a lot more weaker. And then you get to pick which weapon you actually want to take in with you, and also get to practice, and these are the controls and they work quite well. I'm kind of flying through this quite quickly because this isn't the part that I actually want to emphasize to people. The actual bit that I want to emphasize is the sheer mass of loot in this, well, looter shooter. When actually in the game you'll be battling against a good amount of enemies on top of these skyscrapers. You'll constantly be going up next level until you get to the end, like boss type thing. And you have like multiple directions you can go in at the end of each kind of like stage, and they're kind of like lifts that you go up, but there's like more than one of them normally, and I think they're actually gauged kind of like one's harder but with more loot, and the other one's easier with less loot, and it's kind of like the whole risk reward type scenario. You are, as the actual name suggests, a bunch of scavengers, and basically you're taking on this big corporate AI type evil thing, and as such you will be battling loads of different AIs or machines, or you know, whatever you want to call them, some flying, some on the ground, some turret type things. And as suggested before, how your means to like defeat all these enemies is by a lot of guns, some machine guns, normal guns. You have like things that you can pick up and they will like revolve around you and do damage. You've got health pickups, all sorts of things. The loot in this game is astonishing. There is loads of it, and yeah, I had really good fun picking it up, choosing my favorite weapons, and you know, it's almost in that way got an air of a certain first person shooter that I could mention, but I'm not going to, and that's a compliment rather than anything else, as that game is highly regarded as a really good looter shooter. Graphically, this has also got a lot to offer. It's very much fun orientated. I really do like that when you're on top of these buildings, more or less everything that you shoot can be destroyed. Your satellite things can fall over as you shoot them, and I have to admit I took a lot of time and fun shooting certain things down just to see the effect, and there was a lot of them. You could tell that a lot have been done to try and make the actual look of the game interesting in like a cyberpunk kind of way. It's just a shame that at the end of the day, more or less every single level kind of looked similar but in different color palette, and maybe, you know, the odd difference here and there, but as a whole it didn't destroy or harm the gameplay. It just, you know, just became a bit samey after a while. Also, you can fall off buildings, which is rather annoying as well, but I can kind of see why they left that in there. I mean, it was more my fault falling off a building rather than theirs, so you know. There were bits whenever you come off the elevator that I kind of like struggled to find the actual exit, which is a bit weird almost every single time. Sound wise, it's an okay beat to the actual music there. When you're actually in there, there's not really that much actually in-game sound. I have to admit, I felt the actual weapons had a good meaty feeling to them. They were quite weighty, but you know, it just sounded a bit odd with the lack of everything else around. And I did enjoy the sound of the weapons hitting like metal objects. It did actually sound quite satisfying. The sounds of the weapons were pretty cool, especially when they were pinging off things. The sheer mass of loot on offer here is just mind-bogglingly fun. The co-op was actually good fun to play. The bad. The game definitely, as you progress through it, felt a little bit samey the further in you go. The lack of sound on the actual gameplay when you're inside the actual game was a bit odd, and the levels kind of feeling the same each time you play them is also a little bit odd. The score. Now, that's not to say that I didn't really enjoy my time here, because I did, and in multiplayer it was even better. More or less the same, but still even better, because things are better when you have more than one person doing it with you. So I'm going to give Danger Scavenger a 3 out of 5, but a pretty high 3 out of 5. A good 3 out of 5 that for the money is kind of worth it, and if you're into this sort of thing, or even like to get your looter shooters on, then this is definitely something that should be up your street. As for my alternative, I'm definitely going to say, and it's the only one that I could really say, Borderlands, mainly because of the looter shooter type thing. If you're into that, this is definitely your bag as well. As I mentioned before, yes, it's a first-person shooter, but, you know, the similarities because of the looter shooter is a no-brainer to me, and I think if you like the one, you'll probably like the other. And so if you have any comments, please do leave them down below. I answer all of them that I can, and I also read them all. And do consider joining our Discord, link below. Our community is ever growing, and we do streams each and every week, or if you just fancy coming for a chat, we do that as well. And as always, if you've enjoyed any of my content, you know what to do, because life is better when we switch together.